Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, for a very long time a lot of people have felt this guy's attitude is the biggest problem that the Nigerian state has been contending with since 2015. So now it looks as though at last the chicken might be coming home to roost. As guys, I bring you this: how Abba Kyari's above the law attitude led him to expose Nigeria's rich and powerful to CV rampage. You of course know what CV is, what is going on around the world at the moment. So that's the headline again: how Abba Kyari's above the law attitude led him to expose Nigeria's rich and powerful to CV's rampage. So now let's now find out exactly what is going on here. 2 days after it was confirmed that the Chief of Staff to the President Muhammadu Buhari, Abba Kyari, had contracted CV, you all know what CV is, facts have emerged on how he flagrantly disregarded safety warnings by officials of Ministry of Health, Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and the Presidential Task Force on CV, headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Top officials of the ministry and the NCDC told Sahara reporters on Thursday that the whole CV crisis in the presidency and indeed Nigeria's power circle could have been totally different if Kyari, one of the most influential figures in Buhari's administration, had not deliberately flouted safety instructions after returning to the country following visits to Germany and Egypt earlier this month. Both countries have hundreds of confirmed infections together and dozens of deaths from the virus. Upon his return to Nigeria from those countries, it was reliably gathered that Kyari, who has a history of diabetes and is in his 70s, refused to observe the mandatory 14 days self-isolation period, instead going about his normal activities and subjecting dozens of persons, including ministers, state governors, and Aso Rock staff, to the risk of contracting the virus. Already 3 of his staff had tested positive for the virus. After returning to Nigeria on March 13, Kyari attended the wedding of the son of the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, in the company of Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje and business tycoon Aliko Dangote. 2 days later, Kyari attended a meeting of the All Progressive Congress governors with President Buhari on March 16. The meeting was attended by 16 out of the 20 governors of the ruling party. He also had an encounter with the embattled national chairman of the party, Adams Oshiomhole. On March 17, Kyari led a delegation to Okene, Kogi State, to commiserate with Governor Yaya Bello over the loss of his mother. He shook hands with Bello and had close contacts with several guests at the event. The same day, after returning to Abuja, Kyari attended a briefing session by the Presidential Economic Advisory Council led by Professor Doyin Salami. The two men had close contact and even took pictures together. On March 18, Kyari attended the Federal Executive Council meeting, while the next day he was at the inauguration of the National Humanitarian Coordination Committee. It was gathered that Kyari moved around these places despite strict warnings by the Presidential Task Force on CV that all persons returning from high-risk countries for the virus like Germany and United Kingdom should self-isolate for 14 days. It is not the first time that we have seen him act in this manner. He flouts the law regularly and he has always gotten away with it until now, a source said in reference to Kyari. Ironically, in a leaked memo dated March 21st, 2020, addressed to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, Kyari expressed displeasure at the refusal of legislators to undergo CV checks at the country's airports upon arriving in Nigeria. According to him, this could jeopardize all efforts put in place by the government to curtail the spread of the deadly disease. In the memo, Kyari had said it has been brought to the attention of the Honorable Minister of Health recently that some members of the House of Representatives are refusing to subject themselves to medical screenings at the airports. As you are aware, these screenings are our primary line of defense, and refusal by any citizen to subject to this test is a threat to our nation. Accordingly, you are kindly requested to direct all members of the House of Representatives who returned to Nigeria from foreign trips to report themselves to the nearest NCDC test center with immediate effect. However, with the latest development, it is now evidently clear that Kyari was in fact the biggest breaker of the rule. He castigated others for flouting. Following his flagrant disregard for laid down rules, NCDC and Ministry of Health officials feared that tracing all possible contacts with him and curtailing further spread of the virus could be tougher than initially expected. I don't think the NCDC can trace everyone who shook hands with or met him at meetings and functions, and that is why we are asking everyone who were at those gatherings to immediately self-isolate, even if they don't display any symptoms at all, the source said. Following Kyari's infection and contact with Buhari, it was reported on Tuesday that the Presidential Intensive Care Unit was activated for the #1 citizen's use, especially after he started coughing severely and caused panic amongst presidential officials. Buhari has a yet to be disclosed medical ailment and in fact spent 5 months in London, United Kingdom, for treatment. He has visited UK several times more since the period for treatment. Activities inside Aso Rock have already been suspended in a bid to curtail the spread of the virus inside Nigeria's power factory. With Kyari's current ordeal, there are growing concerns that decision-making on key issues in government could be suspended, slowing down the progress of the country in almost every aspect. Already, the confirmed number of infections have risen to 51 in Nigeria, with one recorded death. So now there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is now this above the law attitude that these people have. So this guy, of course, now he has come in and is a high risk catchment in terms of the demography that he occupies, because he's a man in his 70s, and really you can read that to mean a man in his 80s, because the ages of these people, the age of these people are indeterminate. But Buhari will tell you that he's 74, 75, but then you only have to take one cursory look at him to see that he's a man well in his 80s. Buhari's juniors at school, who were 2-3 years his junior at school, are already retired from due to age. Because there's a judge, I can't quite remember his name, I'll go look it up and probably put it in the comment section. There's a judge that was 3 years his junior in school, that is already retired in age, and I think the retirement age in Nigeria is 75 thereabout, and this guy retired 3, 4, 5 years ago. So Buhari is already a man in his 80s, because there's no school, there's no school certificate, but there's no birth certificate for Buhari. You have to understand, this is a guy that would just have presented an affidavit as proof of his age, and that affidavit would have been signed by his district head in Daura. This is what he would have presented to the Nigerian army, and what they would have written on that affidavit is just to say that, okay, this guy is within the age bracket for this thing that is coming to present himself for. So this is really how they would have determined what age he is. So there's no record of his age is unknown, and the doctors in London, by the way, there's a lot of speculation then in 2015 that the reason why he wasn't responding to treatment was because he was a lot older than they had anticipated. So this guy is definitely not 70 anything, is more 80 something. But it is this guy's disregard really for the laws and regulations of Nigeria that I wanted to highlight in this video. And he had the temerity to write to the House of Representatives leader Femi Gbadabiamila to say, look, caution your boys because they are not presenting themselves as screening when they are coming back into the country, and they are not following the rules as laid down by the Ministry of Health. So if he has enough of an awareness to do that power play to give instructions, this is a guy, by the way, that nobody elected to anything, an unknown quantity to the Nigerian person, but then of course Buhari's Buhari's boss, effectively, because Buhari has effectively surrendered his administration to this guy. So now he's now asserting his power over the House of Representatives by instructing them to present themselves as screening. So he did have the awareness that this is what the law requires, and these are the reasons why the law requires this as the first line of defense. So if this is what the law requires, and these are the reasons why the law requires it, you felt moved and emboldened because you're power drunk to the point that you are writing to the House of Representatives to direct them, then you of course then must then set that example, that to say, like, look, this thing that I'm cautioning you on is something that I am doing as well. So I am leading by example as the de facto president of the country. But then of course this above the law attitude is really what's now led to this situation now. This guy now, I am a Fulani man, coronavirus cannot touch me. Well, there you are, there you have it now. Conversations in the comment section above the law, because of course they have only one rule, which is the Jamjawid rule. This is now what's now led to the power circle, as they have termed it in this article. This is what has led to the power circle within the Nigerian space now finding itself at panic stations. Come share thoughts. Come tell me what your sentiments are, or what your opinions are about this guy's flagrant disregard for the laws and regulations of the Nigerian space, and the consequence that he, and by extension a lot of people, are now facing. Come tell me what your opinions are. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come share opinions on this particular developments that we're discussing in this video in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.